Man, those were some killer beats.
I didn't hear any beats.
I heard all of the beats, and everyone listening heard the beats. You can't hear beats.
You have to hear with your heart.
You got to hear with your soul.
I better try harder next time.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Questlog. This is Tim Hannon and Helene Hannon and Joseph McLaurin Leak.
That's me.
That's you.
That's
So
good.
this is awesome. We've been away for a little bit for the summer, mostly because we've been, on vacation and doing other things like that. But during that time, we discovered something that Joseph really wanted to talk about, but I want to talk about it first.
Wait, that's not fair. This is my story to tell.
No, I'm going to tell your story.
You won't tell it right.
This is just like this game that I've been thinking about called Kicks. Like you guys are fighting over each other, and it's like trying to get on the same space at the same time without actually. And I did it. So go, Joseph.
Wait, what kind of game is that? Where you try to get on the same space at the same time?
It's Atari. So
I don't think you understand Kicks, Helene.
now there are some people who when they play video games, they buy games to play them. And there are other people who buy games even though they don't even have the system to play the game, but because the cartridge art is pretty.
Okay, well, Joseph is holding up the cartridge, but
I'm holding it up right now.
No one can see that.
I want viewers to imagine.
there are no viewers,
Listeners.
Joseph.
If there are no viewers,
listeners.
I want listeners to imagine they are in a video game store with their esteemed podcast hosts, Tim Hannon and Helene Hannon, and the three of them are in a video game store with old games, and your eye alights upon an Atari 52 of a game that you had totally forgotten existed, but that your parents owned on their Atari 5200 back in the early or mid 80s. And you see this picture of what looks like a futuristic planet and some kind of weird log-shaped metal thing, kind of like a metal pencil or something, and planets in the distance. And you say, oh my gosh, I remember that. We had that. I tried to play it and it made no sense. And then you have to get the cartridge, even if you have, as I do not have, an actual Atari 5200 on which to play it. But man, this takes me back. So this thing, listeners should look it up. Atari 5200 Kicks. Now that's not Kicks, but Kicks. Not like Kicks. I'm pronouncing it the way it's spelled, Kicks, as in Qix. You look up Kicks. Atari 5200, this black cartridge, silver sticker, copyright 1982, this weird art. While at the used video game store with my esteemed co-hosts, we got this thing. I got it. We took it home. There was a little bit of teasing. See, you tried to steal my story from me, but I appreciate you giving it back to me. There was some teasing from my esteemed co-host over the fact that I couldn't actually play this game. So what you also have to imagine is that I and my esteemed co-hosts then that night stay up till midnight watching videos of people playing Kicks, since we can't play it ourselves. And I had a vague memory that I couldn't play this game as a 4-year-old. Like, it made no sense to me. And it turns out I can see why. It's a game in which, gotta remember, this is 1982 when this came out, the year I was born, the year you were born, Tim, but not you, Helene. You're the baby, born in 83.
Yes.
So young. But I mean, and I don't remember having it until I was like 4 or so, but it sounds like the kind of thing, my dad would have been interested in. He was probably good at it too. But it turns out it's a game in which you attempt to cover with your little dot 65% of the screen, drawing little rectangles and squares before other things that don't look like anything like other dots, and this kind of strange rainbow colored radio wave looking thing that flits about the screen destroy you. But if you just cover 65% of the screen or more, you're good. That's the game. And what we found watching it, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the videos we found, people are not good at this game. They did not get far.
I imagine it was even harder with a joystick.
Yeah. Right.
Doing it on a keyboard is one thing. So we found like emulators and stuff.
Right.
Where you can like play simulations of the game. I don't know
right.
what it means. But and so doing it with, the keyboard is one thing, but like joystick.
Right. Also, right, I know. And the Atari 5200 joystick, from what I've read, is kind of, I don't really remember it particularly. Because I was so little, but apparently it's pretty notoriously bad. the joystick and the controls. So I love that in this game, you're supposed to cover 65%, not half the screen or all of the screen, but 65%
Right.
of the area.
Still legitimate.
I mean, that's still an F, right?
Right.
That's barely an F.
Yeah.
But it goes up as the levels go up, like the more you get. Now, I'm really interested because today's topic is leisure and the importance of leisure and the holiness of leisure. I really want to know how Joseph is going to connect kicks with the holiness of leisure.
There is no rest in that game.
Yeah.
No going back and making mistakes. It's relentless.
Right. Well, Helene's got it exactly. It's an example by way of antithesis. It's the very opposite of leisure because that radio wave thing, which apparently is the kicks, not the kicks, K-I-C-K-S, but the kicks, Q-I-X. That's the kicks.
I thought that was the sticks.
No. The sticks are the little sparks that come around and try to get you.
I thought those were called sparks.
Nope, they're called sticks.
But they don't look like sticks. And the
No,
thing in
well-
the middle looks like multicolored sticks, but it's called kicks.
Yep.
The sparks are called
You know, it was the early 80s.
Yeah, it was a weird time. And then I was born.
And then you were born into the
Way
weirdness.
better.
Right. Well, I do think, all right, so yeah, like I joke, but some games, and I think we talked about this last time, some games are kind of relentlessly engaging, like very interesting, but not necessarily restful. I wouldn't play kicks if I wanted to, or the emulators we found online, necessarily for leisure.
Right.
I find myself playing it if I'm working on something and my brain starts to get a little dead and I want to reactivate it, and then.
You put yourself in panic mode.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's what kicks is good for.
As someone following the religious path, this makes no sense to me.
Elaborate.
Why don't you tell us about your leisure?
Elaborate why this doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, why would you want to agitate yourself? I mean, I like this game too, so it's not like
Right. Maybe you find it more leisure inducing.
I mean, I'll go and play Mega Man instead because you need to constantly be, at your best game. Otherwise, you fall in a pit.
Yes.
Or right, you lose energy, and that's just too much energy that you lost.
Yeah.
There's
demanding.
no real. I mean, there are rests. When Mega Man X starts getting a lot of damage, she starts breathing hard. And gosh, man, just take a break. Be nice if you could.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think maybe if you agitate yourself, yeah, that's not a good feeling. Like feeling, irritated and frustrated, which can happen in various video games when you get stuck in a really frustrating place. But I guess there's a difference between getting agitated versus sort of engaging and stimulating your mind and your senses. Like you want to feel. But yeah, I agree. There's a thin line. It could easily turn into something stressful.
Well,
That's when you have to turn off Mega Man and say, can't do this now.
But
It's
then-
crossed that line.
And your youngest daughter says something like, "Did you just rage quit?"
Yeah.
And
Did
that
you just,
makes it all the worse.
is that right? Yes.
Rage quit? Sorry.
Right. Did you see? I very calmly took control of my emotions and turned off the game and went outside and screamed at the moon. I'm in control here.
So I'm going to make a claim
All right.
about life, and I don't know if it's true. So I want to explore this though.
Sure.
So life is about, all right, so it's going to be good.
All right. Yes.
Right. Life is about living or creating experiences that we will later on be nostalgic about.
Ooh.
And so stressful games like kicks, I mean, I don't know, even like, I don't know, Tetris maybe? No, Tetris is a puzzle game, but like something that's really stressful, your mind isn't there in the moment. You're in panic mode, you're in the fight or flight, and you're not creating memories. Besides, the like immediate reaction. You're reacting, you're not being there. So the more leisurely, restful games are the ones that, fulfill my condition of what life is about. You can create.
They fulfill that condition.
Whatever. Yeah. You can become nostalgic about that later.
I
Year.
What about playing like DDR? Like we played DDR a lot and you needed to be on your game, and I have a lot of nostalgic feelings about DDR.
I'm not nostalgic about me playing DDR. I'm nostalgic about hanging out while
I play DDR.
y'all play DDR.
Wow, you people.
Like living to create nostalgia. I like that idea.
I don't know if it's
do it.
true.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of neat because to look, I mean, we hear all these things about people saying, well, you got to live in the now, you got to live in the now, you got to live in the now. And then if you do that, you get this I don't remember when we were talking about it, Joseph, the three of us, but you have this thing called a long now, where all you
Mm,
have is now. All you have is the present. All you have is this. And the past is dead and gone, and the future is not here yet. And all you have is now. And it
right.
seems so lonely and debilitating. But the one thing that nostalgia does is it allows you to, and you need rest and you need leisure for this so you can reflect on it. But, nostalgia allows you to join the past and the present together. And nostalgia is the feeling that you have of that connection,
Hmm.
or at least one of the feelings that you can.
Yeah, right. Of linking the past to this present moment in which you are recalling the past.
So you're actually, your mind and heart are being enlarged because you're welcoming the past into the present. So it's not just the present. You're living in multiple time periods at once, which is almost like time travel
Yeah.
Without the
Best
paradox.
without the
best we can do. Yeah, without the paradox, right? Best we can do. Right.
So
So yeah, I think
space to think and be,
uh-huh.
that's where it's at.
Yeah. Right. And sometimes I think I remember playing video games at various times in my life that were enough of a challenge, but not enough that I felt I could slip into that and engage with that and forget about whatever troubles were going on. Like, for the time being, I don't have to deal with bullying at school or, painful things happening in life, and I remember those as times of peace. Like, I will look back on that. I suppose in the moment I must have been engaged enough in whatever it was, Mario Kart or Mega Man or whatever, Legend of Zelda games, whatever it was, I must have been engaged enough that I wasn't at the moment. Well, it was obviously a kind of leisure, but it wasn't, it must have had moments of stress or like anxiety or like, I've got to do this right, or I don't want to mess this up and have to do it all over again, that kind of thing. But I don't remember that. What I remember it is as this peaceful and nourishing and sustaining escape from, or temporary respite from, problems and pains and griefs. So the nostalgia, I don't really remember the stressful part. I remember the release it gave me or the respite it gave me.
so that maybe the nostalgia can be the rest. I mean, we Christians will often talk, Jewish folks too, but I can only speak for Christians, but we'll talk about a Sabbath as important as an alternate time that we enter into so that we can pay attention to God, we can pay attention to the people in need, those around us. Go ahead and edit that out.
No, leave it in.
That we have this alternate timeline that we move into from work, and we move into the alternate timeline, the alternate reality of rest. But nostalgia can be that too. Nostalgia can be this time when we remove ourselves from the day to day and look on the past with a different attitude, with a different reality. And yeah, it can kind of recolor the past, but if you're feeling nostalgic, that it's not like
Right.
you're feeling the past and like, oh wow, that time when I was really, really agitated was really wonderful. No,
Right. Right.
that you're feeling nostalgic about the past and that it's coloring it, but that's part of it
Yeah.
because you kind of make sense of it, even if it was
Mhm.
a difficult time.
Yeah, that's quite profound. I think important because that is one of the go-to put downs that people will offer, when you talk about thinking nostalgically about the past or the pleasure and peace that comes from thinking about certain things from your past, is they will say, well, you're romanticizing it, or you're looking through it, you're looking at it in a rosier way than it actually was. And the fascinating thing about what you're saying is those people think they're debunking it. And what you're saying is, yes, and that doesn't matter. Yes, of course you are. And that doesn't negate the value and the worth of thinking about the past nostalgically.
And that's part of the point too. When you were talking about agitating video games to play, I was thinking about Final Fantasy 13. And I was writing my master's thesis while in Georgia while playing Final Fantasy 13, and the whole idea, the whole theme of that game was like counter to the things that I was talking about in my thesis. So I was super aggravated about it, but I loved playing the game. The game was so much fun.
Interesting.
And as time has gone on, I have nostalgia for the game because it was like this game really challenged me as a player. Like,
Yeah.
for as a JRPG player, like I hadn't been challenged like that. you had to constantly stay on your toes for the last boss to be
Yeah.
switching different paradigms. You're doing all this stuff. You're constantly on for the entire battle. It was so much fun.
Mhm.
It's just that the story was awful.
Oh.
But I look back at that time and I'm like, that was rest. That was true rest when I was just in writing mode the whole time.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's a bit of nostalgia for Final Fantasy 13, but I know that. And I know that the story was awful.
Uh-huh.
Being a reflective person, you know that stuff, but that nostalgia is what heals on that time.
Right.
Kind of make amends with that time and say,
Ooh, that's good.
maybe it's not all that bad. Maybe that story was terrible, but you know, I had a great time playing it, and that's
Yeah.
what was important. That was what was sticking with.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful that it kind of redeems the time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really neat because it's forgiveness, that you're kind of talking about, with the redeeming and the, validating or whatever, but you're not just forgiving like the thing itself, the game, Final Fantasy, like you're forgiving yourself for having played it and gotten so into it, even though maybe it wasn't the perfect experience, like you're still saying like, yes, no, there is something good in this and I came away better for it, and you can,
Yeah.
it's not a waste.
Right. It's
So much. Yeah. Go ahead, Joseph.
Mm.
No, go ahead.
There's so many times when we can look back on the past and just kind of deny it and say that was a bad time in my past and I can't gain anything out of it. But when we look with nostalgia on things, when we enter into this different kind of mode, it's kind of like a temporal. Well, I mean, Sabbath is temporal, but like a time traveling Sabbath. We can kind of allow God to spread some grace throughout difficult times. Now there are times where there's abuse, where there's really difficult times, where there's, clearly those are times that we can't necessarily just forgive as easily.
No, we're
But
talking
yeah,
about games.
yes, I mean, there are some crunch times when whether it's games or not, where I can kind of forgive the times. I can get those moments in my life where I was feeling so awful because I remember certain things that were really important there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can do that for COVID. There were times when we were in pandemic, and I was able to just sit by the window and just be at peace because I didn't have everything hounding down on me. And although that doesn't make the pandemic good,
No.
it was awful, but it can allow God to get in those
Yeah.
moments and lift them up.
Right. You don't need an either or. Like either this time must be bad and have nothing redemptive or valuable about it, or it must be good and there's nothing to trouble you about it, nothing clouds to darken over the good times. Like it might be a mix, and sometimes thinking it's a wholesome thing to find the good in the bad. Like this is, I mean, and this is basic wisdom literature 101. Like, all the wisdom literature of all the world has pointed out that it is better to see some aspect of in hard times or difficult times, some part of it that was good or valuable, and a good that could not have come about if not for the bad. And that's, I mean, I think it's like, emotionally, it's a kind of stunted person who can't allow for that. Like it either has to be good or bad. I can't have both, or I can't have a mix.
And nothing can be good, so it all happens.
Right. Yes. And usually, right. That's usually where they fall. Right. They don't usually fall into the side of saying, so everything is great. They usually fall into the side of saying everything is bad.
Mhm.
The bad has the power to taint the good for such people, but the good does not have the power, apparently, to color the bad. And why should that be? If bad associations or bad times can make the good things, if it can negate the good, why? Why wouldn't the good negate the bad in that
Well,
case?
I mean, the Christian story is that the good is stronger than the bad.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're talking about is the bad is stronger than the good, but many Christians fall along the lines of feeling that, good and bad are kind of equal things, dueling it out, that Satan
Yeah.
and Jesus kind of duel it out. But the matchup for Christianity isn't Jesus and Satan, it's Saint Michael, the archangel.
Right.
Satan. They're the ones duking it out, and Jesus is the one who comes in and says, "I'm going to settle this all, and it's for life.
That's right. Yeah.
It's for hope." And Satan just kind of bounces off of him and
Right.
doesn't touch him.
Yeah. What does that verse say about the darkness has not overcome the light?
Ah, glorious.
Yeah.
Sounds like, there are some times when the Bible sounds like a good role-playing game.
That's right.
And then you realize you're playing video games because it sounds like the Bible.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's
Doesn't
excellent.
should be.
Let's see.
Yeah, we figured it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think we arrived at the solution. Well, on another topic related to leisure, I'm reminded of because my school starts next week, so I'll be back from summer break beginning teaching again. Uh, I always like to remind my students, they usually find this pretty exasperating and pretty unbelievable, but that the word school in Greek, where this comes from, is the Greek word for leisure. Because once upon a time, study of things was something you could only do if you had the leisure to do it. Like if you weren't having to, work in the fields and fight off wild animals or whatever, it's a leisurely thing. And of course, the modern world has kind of transformed that in such a way where school is work. But I like to try to encourage my students a little, as much as they are able, and they're not really totally able because school puts their noses to the grindstone, that learning ought to be a kind of leisure or approached in a spirit of leisure.
So how do you do that when you actually had to put some effort into it?
Right, exactly, right. And that is the difficult thing. Yeah, like for them, they're
Wait. No, we were just talking about how like your final battle in Final Fantasy 13 was like you were there, you were on, you had to be on your toes, and that was leisure. You know,
yeah, true, right,
the effort you put into it.
right.
So
Kicks. That's
cakes
leisure.
just
Right, kicks is leisure. Right. Well, I should have my students
so
play.
work and leisure can be similar, I guess.
Yeah, right. Well, no,
Part of the other,
no, that's right. Yes, like
and not just black or white.
I need to convince my students that they may look back, if undertaken in the right spirit, maybe they will look back on this as a kind of in it with a nostalgic sense of the time it was. Yes, they had to be on their toes, and yes, they had this work to do, but
I'm sure depending on what jobs they get,
right.
This is time of their life. Who knows?
I should have them play kicks to model this, and also which Final Fantasy was it?
Final Fantasy 13.
13. I'll say like, all right, if you want to understand what I'm talking about here, go play these games.
I've often thought that if you just play these video games, you'll understand a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Tetris really is so applicable to everything in the world.
Yeah. Everything.
There were a number of times when our children said something to us like, "Is this actually fun for you?" When you're aggravated, when you're so frustrated, when you just keep on bumping into a wall and someone says, "Is this actually fun for you?" and you go, "Yes,
Yes, it's fun.
yes, this is."
That's
It's a little bit aggravating.
yeah. It is a little bit mysterious to describe, and I'll leave the teaching analogy aside, but also this is something people who know me have asked before, in the midst of the school year when they ask how things are going, and I answer by saying how many weeks it is until summer break or winter break or something. And I had a friend once say, "Do you like teaching?" Or they'll ask how it's going, and I'll tell them how much grading I have to do and whether this week was a heavy grading week. These are probably tedious things for people to have to listen to. Let me tell you how it's going. But it's true. I love teaching. I do. It is very, very stressful and time consuming. At the same time, I really do love it. It's all wound together.
Yeah, and people will often ask me, "How are you doing?" and I'd say something like, "Well, I just went to see someone and gave them last rites," which I did this. No, someone passed away this week, but I saw them for the last time, and they're like, "Is that really hard for you?" I'm like, "Well, it's hard, but it's also." I mean, I got to sit down and talk to someone who was at the end of their life thinking about everything that happened to them, giving them that leisure to be able to talk about that stuff, to be able to go back and say, "Man, I remember when I was married. Hey, let me tell you about my marriage."
Mhm.
Yeah. That was 67 years ago. Let's hear about it. That's a gift. I love doing that. But yeah, it's churns your soul around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. It's a
Yes.
good to churn your soul around.
Mm-hmm. So there are many things that are where these things are wound together. Something that is good and fulfilling or even brings peace to your soul or nourishes it are not always things that are painless as well. That's part of the frightening but beautiful thing about life.
Well, the greatest act that was ever done, Jesus on the cross, was done in complete humility.
Yeah.
So Jesus saved the world by doing nothing on the cross.
Yeah.
And Jesus didn't do nothing on the cross.
Right. But in one sense, right. Yeah. It must have seemed that way to
Mhm.
Yeah.
people observing it. Like, well, He is completely passive, and that's an end of his ministry right there.
Yeah, when it was the greatest part of his ministry.
Yep. Right. Boy, and right. It doesn't seem that way often in life, but
No.
those times of rest and peace and of passivity turn out to be some of the most important and formative things you could be doing.
I remember I had not learned this lesson yet. And I was visiting my cousin in California, and he was always a very chill kind of person. And so he didn't do too well in, Boston, or at least from what I've heard, he didn't. So he, moved out to San Francisco. So I was with him in San Francisco, and we had climbed this mountain. We were at the top, and I have these pictures of this beautiful view. And he was just stretched out on the rocks, just looking out at the view. And I was like, okay, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? What are we doing next? And he was kind of like, this is it. This is what we're doing. This is the joy of it. And I just, as a 17 or 18-year-old young man, just could not see that. And now try to tell our kids that, like, just take a moment and taste your food.
Right.
And breathe and just, we're trying so hard to get them to learn this. And that's what, to bring it back to video games too. Someone asked me once, why do you like JRPGs? There's so much dead time in it. It's like, well, that's you get to think and believe and be in it.
Yeah.
When your little guy charges up to the enemy and hits them and then charges back into the line.
Yeah. Yes, right.
That's a break where you get to drink it all in.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's what I've mentioned this on previous episodes before trying them out. I believe that would be the part that I would find intolerable about RPGs, because I'd never played them growing up. And what it has turned out now that I've tried them as, a 40-year-old person, is that I actually really like that about them. That's for exactly the reason you're describing.
So at the end of the day, the message that we have for you, listeners, not viewers, listeners, is that you should play more video games.
Kicks.
And have nostalgia for the past, because Jesus died on the cross and loves you.
Yep.
Yes.
That's that.
That is why it comes down to that. Well, there could be no better way, I think, to end our episode than that.
Yeah. Well, go and do likewise.
Yeah. Play your video games and remember what you're doing is of wonderful value.
Yes.
And importance.
And there will be video games in heaven.
Oh, there must be.
Yeah, I know. There's too much glory in them.
Right.
Xenogears will be finished.
Xenogears will be finished. And there will be, I like to imagine the video games you've most loved entering into the world of, and then just saying, now that world can infinitely be entered into.
Yes.
And it's not like, that's the end of the game.
It's full immersion.
Right. Full immersion just goes and goes and goes.
Glory.
Listeners can't see, but Tim just got a wonderful look of mingled longing and happiness in his very expression.
Yes. All of our eyes glistened. A tear fell.
Well, I'm thinking now what games those would be for me. And they're probably kind of odd choices, but,
Kicks would actually be what it looks like on the front cover.
Right. The Kicks game would actually resemble the cover, which is part of the attraction. This is a really cool looking game, and it looks nothing like this.
You're showing us again as if the listeners can see this.
It comes through.
Everyone Google Kicks.
It comes through.
It comes through.
It comes through. Yeah,
Great.
I need, in order to say it with conviction, I have to hold it up.
Well, you're showing me.
He's showing you. Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yes. It's me.
Well,
beautiful.
Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed our rambling conversation about wonderful things. God bless and be well.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye.
I am having the time of my life.